right, there we go. Hello, you. My name's Jonti.
And I'm Brandon, also known as B Squared, and this is This Week in Ink.
Each week we'll be wading through the Inklands to bring you the news and views on all things Lorcana.
As always, we have weekly features such as Main Street Market Watch and You Made Me Ink.
And we'll be discussing the latest topics and taking opinions from the live chat. Hello live chat! Before we get started proper tonight, I did want to bring up one thing. A few people let us know through the week that YouTube was like randomly putting adverts on the stream, and I didn't realize that first of all, it was happening and that we had no say as to where they actually happened. I've turned that off, so you shouldn't get stopped by an advert, other than like when you're coming in, like it'll probably play one before the thing starts, but it shouldn't just cut off. You'll be able to look at our lovely faces all night. But I think it's worth mentioning that it is quite nice that some of the costs of setting this up and keeping it running every week are covered with things like that. So because of which, something else that people have asked for, we've been able to turn on, which is super chats. So you should be able to, if you wish to, of course it's not required in the slightest, you're welcome just to sit here and enjoy the stream and chat normally, but if you wish to super chat, that's a thing you can do, and the screen, something happens on the screen or something, I don't know, we're figuring it out as we go along, but obviously every single penny we get just goes back into making me and Brandon take a complete split of anything that's generated from these live streams, and it just helps us keep going, and because it takes a bit of work through the week to put all this together. So we appreciate your support however you show it, even if that is just sitting and watching. That is the number one way you can support us. So anyway, enough talk about money.
Yes, so This Week in Ink, it's been another super heavy week, as expected, with reveals. Is it next week? Rise of the Floodborn comes out, right? It's next Friday?
I'm still thinking it's 2 weeks away, and the reason I say that is because this week we have a Magic the Gathering release in the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So in my head, it's like Magic, and then another week and then it's Lorcana. But I guess if you want to stretch out the definition of Monday, this week,
right?
Yeah, like technically it's less than 2 weeks away, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Regardless, we're really close to the release of Rise of the Floodborn. This week we had 37 cards revealed, including I think a couple today.
That number changed 5 times today in the notes.
Yeah, it always does. I know, like we do this stuff. We have a little Google Doc chat, for those of you that don't know, that we like set stuff up because we try to be organized and professional. And
try being the optimal word there.
And we know that because it's on a Monday, there's going to be who knows how many more cards added last minute.
Yeah. They normally are a little quiet over the weekends. In fact, I don't think we got anything Saturday or Sunday this week, actually.
I don't remember it. Yeah. But we have the 37 cards to talk about. Also, we are going to talk about the restocks, or supposed restocks, rumored restocks that are supposedly out there. Not everybody has seen them, but some people have. I've heard. Also, we've seen prices come down a little bit across the board. So, that leads me to believe that somebody out there is getting product and, it's making it into the masses a little bit. So we have that to talk about tonight. I hope you guys enjoy as we talk about it. I always encourage everyone to grab their favorite drink and their favorite snack.
I'm being very stereotypical. I've got a lovely mug of tea.
I have a nice mug of water.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll move right on into the card reveals, starting with Gruesome and Grim. I'll go ahead and read that one out. Gruesome and Grim is an uninkable 3-cost amethyst rare card. It's an action song card that says, play a character with cost 4 or less for free. They gain rush. At the end of the turn, banish them. And I'm going to be honest, like, when I saw this card, I didn't think it was too great. Mm-hmm. I looked at all the 4-drops that we could use this on for maximum value, and there was nothing that really stood out. I guess there's uses in a bounce deck to like play something out for free if you also have something to bounce it back so that it doesn't get banished. But I don't know, it being banished at the end of the turn really sucks, honestly.
It's a lot of having something bounce it back is quite a lot of work, really, for a 4 cost. Now, because I think when I cover this on my video, first of all, doesn't this seem like it was revealed forever ago? Like it does. Hasn't it been a long week?
When I saw it on the notes, I was like, "Wait, are these the notes from last week?"
So the obvious one is Goat, is Merlin Goat. I think that's at the minute at least the only card I think I'd be happy playing with this. Get it out turn early, you draw a card, it kills something, you draw a card. Like that's pretty solid. It's like a slightly better Rafiki draw 2. Like that, yeah. Like that's, but at the moment that's I think is it really. 4 cost Hades maybe? Because once he's landed, he's not doing much, and like again could kind of act as a Rafiki that just gets you something back.
Yeah, this just seems like one of those cards that requires so much. It's one of those cards that's like, well, you could do this, and it kind of works if you also have this. And like once I start going down those rabbit holes of, I need the stars to align.
All the hoops should be loose. Goaty's Law, sorry. All right, which one's draw then? Is it Rabbit? Can you do
Rabbit?
Oh, so maybe it's Goat. I mean, Goat, that's still pretty good,
That's not bad. Yeah, Goat or Rabbit
comes
is
down,
fine.
Comes down on 3, kills something, gain 2 law. Like, I'll take that. If Rafiki said gain 2 law on it, just, like you'd play the hell out of it, right? So, maybe this is a thing, but I don't know. Maybe a few little hoops to jump through. This was their Halloween reveal. Cool art.
Yeah, cool art. Admittedly, I haven't seen this movie, so I can't appreciate it as much as others. But the people who have seen it seem to really like it. So
it's great. Moving on then, 5-costed Inkable 5/5 for 2 law in Ruby. Cards soldiers, we think. We haven't seen the English translation for this. It's a uncommon vanilla.
Yeah, not much to say. No. There's a lot of these like inkable 5 costs with roughly 5 to 6 strength or willpower and 1 or 2 lore. And, it might see some play if you want people to, I don't know, just have like a big body, but really not much more to say.
There's definitely a thing in Ruby that I don't think we've seen all of yet, that is wanting your characters to hit and then gaining some sort of advantage off them being damaged.
Oh, yes.
Like there's a lot of that coming out, and I think that's going to be one of Ruby's archetypes in this set. But and they, all of these kind of fuel that. But otherwise, it is what it is. And why is the 5-costed 5/5 the 4 of hearts on the art? Like, come on. It's
come
cool
on,
art. It's very classic art, but come on, man. Should have been the 5 of hearts.
Yeah, I agree. All right. I guess we just want to move on to the next card.
Yeah, sorry. I forget you can't see my screen. I've already...
I can't see anything. Okay, yeah. So we have an Inkable 4-cost Emerald Uncommon card, Donald Duck, Perfect Gentleman, which I absolutely love, by the way. 2 strength, 5 willpower, 2 lore, Floodborn, which is great. Shift 3 with the ability Allow Me. At the start of your turn, each player may draw a card. Phenomenal card in every aspect. The art, the ability. Donald Duck is probably my favorite out of like the Mickey, Goofy, Donald, trio.
Yeah.
And to see Donald be portrayed as opposite basically of like what he usually is, which is raging and fussy and like
angry,
upset is so awesome. I love it.
Trevor says, wild how long ago it feels like this was revealed. It's been a busy week. It sure has, man. It really has. And Steven says, how is this uncommon? Yeah, I don't know. This is like for all that we moan about Emerald having loads of uninkables and stuff, it also is the color with banger uncommons as well. Like, like it really is. And this is I think this is fantastic. This is the first sort of real group hug card I guess we've seen. One of these cards that Emerald has a thing. I'm gonna quest, and if you want to deal with it you can, but you're not going to enjoy it. And that's usually because it kills the thing that that challenges into it, or it makes you discard or something. But this is actually still that theme, but doing it from a positive angle, it's like, you don't want to get rid of this. This is giving you extra cards, you know?
Yeah.
And that's basically what Group Hug is. Group Hug is like, you leave me alone because you're all going to get benefit out of it, whether that's multiplayer or 1v1 even. And I just, I think it's fantastic. Perfect Gentleman, still got no pants on. So, I mean, I don't know how much of a perfect gentleman he is, but, you know, like, I if I walked the streets dressed like that, I'd be arrested. But even still, really good card. It's been a little bit divisive, and it seems to be that there are two camps: people who appreciate what a Group Hug card is trying to do, and people who don't. I assume, hearing you describe it, you settle on the fact that you're happy with the fact that this card exists.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I love the way you described it in your video when you talked about this card, about like one of the tricky things about a Group Hug card is it benefiting the opponent. So the opponent has a difficult time deciding, do I want to keep this on the board so that I keep drawing resources, even though I know that they might get to quest or might get to sing or use this card, you know, for their reason. Or do I get rid of it, even though I could get some value from it? And like that play on Emerald is part of why the ink is so fun to play, is because it's like, you're obviously playing the game, but you're also forcing your opponent to like think way harder than they might have to.
Yeah,
If
you're forcing them to spend mental energy on something other than their own game plan, which I think is genuinely an important thing and something that's worth going. And as people are saying in the chat as well, this is fuel for the discard deck, because as fun as all the discard stuff looks, once their hand's empty, a lot of it starts to not be as strong, right? So things like the Flynn Rider from set 1 and Prince John, excuse me. Like, it's, you know, all that stuff. And once their hand's empty, they're like, oh, I don't care anymore. So this kind of can help that as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention, is that this got revealed around a lot of those discard cards. And yeah, one of the big caveat of a discard deck is if your opponent doesn't have any cards to discard, you're kind of not doing anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely helps that. For sure.
And what makes this even better is it's only at the start of it's not like at the start of everyone's turn they get an extra card. It's at the start of my turn, I get an extra card and they get one. So before it's even come round to them again, I can probably get rid of that if I'm playing a discard deck.
And that makes this card, I just think this is fun, that makes this card the very first card we have that actually makes you check something on the set step.
That's right.
The
ready set draw. Yeah, this is it. It's interesting that it doesn't name that. It doesn't name set during the set phase or at the you know, it just says during the start of your turn. And I don't think we've actually had it confirmed that is set, but we assume it is, right? We assume that's what it's for. Yeah. So we ready, we all draw, may draw, which is why I don't think it works in mill. Not that I think this is a very good mill card anyway, but it doesn't really work in mill, I don't think, because it's a may. But yeah, great card. Oh, what a card. Love it. Okay, moving on. 3-costed uninkable item in amber, Dragon Gem. Bring back to life. You can exert it and pay 3 to return a character card with support from the discard to your hand. And I'm not in love with this. Like recursion can often be really great. Bringing stuff back is really great. Like they mentioned that 4-drop Hades before. Part of Your World sees quite a bit of play. Is it Part of Your World? I always get mixed up with the songs. Yeah, Part of Your World.
Part of Your World.
Sees a lot of play for that reason, but this just seems expensive, really.
Yeah, it's 6 ink just for the first recursion.
Yeah, and support, like when I looked at this card first, the only thing you would really want to bring back is Maximus from set 1. We have since seen a bit of support elsewhere, right? Like one of the dwarves.
I think it's Happy has support, and then Basil, one of the Basil cards has support.
Do, but like neither of those are the only 2 cards out either. Maybe there's another 5 amazing support cards coming, but I kind of feel like this is just items in general in this game don't particularly impress me very much. There's a couple of standout ones, but for the most part, I find a lot of the item stuff is relatively weak.
Yeah, I agree. Usually, I find myself just wanting to run an action or a character that does the same thing, and I feel the same way with Dragon Gem. usually I'm probably just running Hades if I want to recur stuff,
Mhm.
and it like, I mean this is worse because it specifies support. You can
Yeah.
only recur a support card, whereas with
Yeah.
Hades you can just recur anything. And especially when this card got revealed, it looked pretty bad. We'll get to a card in a minute in Amber that works very well with support.
Mhm.
But even after we saw that card, I was like, I still don't think this card
Yeah,
makes the cut.
I genuinely think we're getting closer and closer to a support deck being a thing, and I'm still not sure this sees play in it. So, like,
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so after that, we have another Minnie Mouse. She's a ruby uncommon, inkable 3 cost with 1 strength, 1 strength, 3 willpower, 2 lore, Dreamborn hero. She has evasive. I don't know, more evasive characters. The more we see characters get revealed, like I was kind of chuckling today. Were there 2 characters? No. There was 1 character revealed today that had like on your turn I have evasive.
Yes, there was.
And then,
it was one of the Jafars that we'll get to later on. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a couple others that have done that, and they're cheaper cards that have 3 strength and low willpower. They kind of just like wreck these cards. But does this card see play? I don't really think so. Because I don't know. I mean, like you can try to build an evasive deck, but there's so much anti-evasion out there now.
Yeah,
it's
going to be one of those things that kind of works cyclically. If it's not a word, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Like if a deck that's all evasives starts doing really well, then all of those anti-evasive cards start seeing play, and then the evasive drops off, and then you stop playing the anti-evasive stuff, so the evasive starts doing well. Like we kind of saw that in set 1. Aggro came out the gate really strong, and then and then grab your swords starting to see a lot more play. So aggro dropped off again, and then people started running down to like 2 or 3 copies of grab your swords in some decks, and so aggro picked up a little bit again. But like it wasn't quite as severe. But there is a chance that like I reckon somebody could sit across from me at locals with a fully evasive deck on week 2 or 3 of the set 2 league, and I'd be like, "Oh, geez, I got nothing," because I don't see myself playing the like on you gain evasive just to deal with it. The same way I don't play any like item destruction, like I don't play beast or break or anything. So somebody sits across from me and starts getting crazy value out of Musketeer's Tabard, or one of the guys I play with every week has a control deck. Just Ruby Amethyst control, but leans really heavily into Cauldron and Shield of Virtue. And I know I'm going to play it every week, and I know that by the time he's got 2 or 3 Cauldrons out, he's sat there looking at 7 cards every turn. But it's still not enough for me to stick beasts into
really?
and I'm like, whatever. I'll try and win other way, like elsewhere. Like I don't like that. I don't like answers like that when you can't sideboard. I don't like playing cards that if you're not up against that opposition, it's a weaker card. No.
That's interesting because I'm the opposite.
You seem to
I
disagree,
do run
though,
those cards. Yeah. I put Beast into my Amber Steel deck pretty early. Like once Ruby Amethyst really started taking off, I was like, I have to have a way to deal with these mirrors and stuff, and just slotted it in. Mainly because he's also like it would be different if he was a poor body. Because I think Beast is an exception in the sense
suppose
that,
that's it. He's just fine as just
I'm okay to just play him. He's 5 costs. He can still sing A Whole New World. Like there's a lot of other things he can do. But and like with these evasives, my main thing is a lot of them are kind of cheap. We see a lot of like a chat saying like smash target dice removal. Like there's that too, of course. There's a lot of bounce stuff. Like
everything dice removal.
There's so many things that I think are out there to answer cards like this.
Yeah.
You might be able to squeeze by like at League, surprising people with evasive, but kind of like you said, I don't think that lasts very long before people start teching for it.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I think it's really fun. We now have a 1, 2, 3, and 4 drop Minnie Mouse in Ruby.
Yeah.
So for everybody that loves Minnie.
Do we have an evasive at every slot now?
I don't think we have an evasive
2
1 slot.
Pascal technically.
Oh, you just mean in general?
Yeah. Just like, because obviously you're not going to build a mono ruby deck. So what's your second color if you want to just go curve out evasives?
Just full evasive.
Yeah, like you could do it. Is there a 2-drop evasive?
I might be.
Chat will let us know, I'm sure. While you're looking, Trevor Medeiros, Trevor's a friend of mine, a regular at our store, plays in our league. Jonti in his hour-long control versus control match. It was an hour and 20 minutes. We had me versus Bob. He was playing Ruby Amethyst, and I was playing Ruby Amber control. And yeah, an hour and 20 minutes it took for one game. And we had a blast. Like, it was hilarious. He almost decked out just because of how much of his deck he was seeing from these cauldrons and mirrors and stuff.
I'm surprised you didn't, yeah.
Yeah, it was getting close.
I can't see it. Oh, well, No, Radigan's not, or Fidget isn't a 2-drop, is he?
I think he's 3 as well,
because
he's basically the same card. Yeah, he's 3. His stats are a little different, but yeah. So no 2-drops of aces in the first chapter, and nothing's been shown yet, I don't think. So basically you've got Pascal, and then
you could
quite a few
Minnie.
3s.
You could shift Minnie on 2 if you wanted to, because that's her shift cost.
But is she evasive, the action one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So technically you could curve out.
You wouldn't have the turn 1 evasive.
You wouldn't have the turn 1. You'd have to play the turn 1 Minnie.
Yeah.
So yeah. So 1-drop Pascal, 2-drop something. and then you've got lots of 3s, 4, 5, 6, 8. There's no 7, I don't think yet. So technically,
I will say, well, isn't Mim a 7-drop evasive? Dragon Mim.
So bounce 2 of your evasive stuff back for her, and then 8 cost.
And then BLT.
Well, you couldn't do it because you'd run out of cards. Like, there's not you need card draw in there.
Yeah.
But
you could sing. You could sing Friends.
Yeah.
Get a couple draw.
Yeah, I suppose you're in Amethyst because of Pascal. Maybe it's a thing, man. I don't know. Maybe evasives. And I feel like outside of things like Mim, like, he wouldn't be a crazy expensive deck either. Like, if you just wanted to lean in, like, if you did like Ruby Emerald evasives, like, it's becoming more viable. I think it's a casual deck, but I think you could just have fun sitting across people from locals, and just that first game, they have got no idea what you're about to do, and you just throw loads of evasives down. Like, I feel like it could be a thing.
Well, and early on, we saw that too. Like, before the meta really got solved, in some of the earlier tournaments, people were bringing Ruby Emerald evasives for that reason.
Well, it's the starter, right? Yeah, like fleshed out starter deck.
And like, the biggest issue was that it didn't have draw, but the more cards we see in Emerald and Ruby, like, the more likely something like that is to be. So there, it's definitely a possibility for sure.
It's interesting stuff. All right, we'll move on. Chris Robin next, a 6-costed Inkable 2/6 for 2 lore in Amber. With the ability will always be together. Whenever you ready this character, if you have 2 or more other characters in play, you gain 2 lore. I have to constantly keep reading this card when I think about it to actually see what it does, because there's so many little like hoops and stuff to jump through.
Yeah, it is worded a little weird.
Yeah, I don't know if this is any very good, honestly.
I think this is one of those cards. Like, I get excited when I see this card for multiple reasons. I love Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin, and I really like these combo-y, like, I'm going to play a bunch of cards and all this stuff is going to happen. But I think, at least right now, it's kind of in the same box that Ariel was in the first chapter, where it looks really fun and like maybe you pull something off really cool with it. But like,
Ariel,
realistically,
who's it collector, you mean? The items?
Yes,
Ariel?
the Sapphire one. Yeah. But like, it actually being viable, I don't think is great.
So first of all, this has to go in at the moment, at least, I think this has to go in a Ruby Amber build, because you need to have stuff that's going to ready him. They can
ready it
quicker. Because at the moment, as far as... Okay, so here's the other thing, right? If I play Elsa Spirit of Winter, I can exert an exerted card. Right?
Okay, I see where you're going, yeah.
So, on the turn after Christopher Robin is played, does he ready if he's readied? Because does the ready phase of the thing ready everything, whether they are readied or not? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I see exactly what you're saying.
Because if not, and you're not playing stuff that readies him early, he does nothing for two whole turns.
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
he readies on turn 3 after like the third turn. So either he only goes into a Ruby Amber deck with things like LeFou and Shield and Fan the Flames or whatever, or he's really not very good.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's both. I don't know.
That's really interesting. I feel like
I can
answer...
I can play Fan the Flames on a readied character and it will ready it.
Yeah. Does it ready it?
It's a valid target. It will ready.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
I ready that ready thing.
You couldn't play it if it wasn't readying the character.
Yeah. So can I?
That is interesting.
So do all characters ready on the start of their turn? Is ready just a state check?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I feel
it does.
Talking like
now I'm really
man.
interested. I didn't think about this, but now I'm really interested to get an answer on this because that totally changes this card because I don't think it works this way because it feels like it'd be really, really, maybe not really, really good, but it'd be a lot better if it worked this way.
Well, that's the other thing. It could say no, because it would be different to just at the start of your turn because the idea here is that they want you to combo it with readying stuff. So because you could say at the start of your turn because you're not playing this before the start of your turn, right? So, but then you don't get the multiple because obviously the dream of this is boop boop boop. 2 or 3 or 4
you
times,
play this
right?
and LeFou and
Yeah, but as it stands, if you have no way of readying this character or exerting it on the turn it comes out, I guess.
Right.
It doesn't do anything until turn 3.
Which is also difficult.
Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you can't sing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree mainly with what chat's saying here. Like it's too many parts. It's too many pieces you'd have to put together for this to pop off. And then even when it does pop off, like when it comes to pop off cards and pop off decks, like they need to win. When they pop off, they need to win.
And I'm not sure.
And this isn't winning.
No.
Yeah.
Turn 6. If you've already got sort of like 13, 14 lore elsewhere, it's maybe possible to combo this, but it's just so telegraphed. Right, and a few people were saying, "Oh well, it doesn't die to damage removal. You're gonna have to throw a Dragonfire or something into this." I'm like, no, I just had to kill one of the other 2 things that are out.
Yeah,
most likely one of those is going to be much easier to kill.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Trevor there says it falls into the category of cards I really want to be good, but I'm not sure it'll live up. I think that's a great way of putting it. I think it's what do they call what have I heard a few times this week? People have said like in Magical Christmas Land.
I haven't seen that.
Honestly, like I've heard 2 different people on podcasts and stuff say in Magical Christmas Land, this card, like in the basically what they mean, like in the perfect condition, you've got the perfect hand, and for some reason your opponent's just sitting there letting you get on with it. Like this is really good, but yeah. All right, let's move on. Go ahead.
Okay. Next is a inkable 3-cost action song card, World's Greatest Criminal Mind. It says banish chosen character with 5 strength or more and is a rare card. This is crazy.
I can't believe there are people who don't like this card.
No, this is the most important Amber card that we've seen so far.
So I said, this was revealed by the Forbidden Mountain, and I said on my video that I genuinely think Pack Tactics that we got to show off last week was the best card a YouTube channel had got to show off to that point. And then the next day, those guys got to show this. And I was like, oh, no. We had the title for a day.
Yeah, I thought about that because you had told me that. And I was like, yeah, Pack Tactics is really good. And then the moment this got revealed, I was like, well, there goes that.
Yeah, this is really strong. It's inkable. It's singable. It's a caveated removal. But I've always said this. I think outside of Ruby, you're never going to see a card that just says banish thing. Like there's always going to be a little hoop to jump through outside of Ruby. It's how the color combinations work, I feel, at least for the foreseeable future.
I think the biggest thing with this card is that you can use support to give opposing character's strength.
Yes, nothing in support says it has to be one of your own characters. So this technically makes support a little better. I think you just play I think this is a 4 of in an amber deck, honestly. I like whether you're doing support or not. But that is a nice bonus that you can support something to get rid of something that otherwise wouldn't be. But honestly, I mean, I genuinely think any deck, even ones that are super sort of like aggro-y, just focused on questing or whatever, I feel like they should have run at least a playset of a removal card. Because there's always going to be a time when you have to deal with something your opponent is doing. My Sapphire Emerald build plays 4 Let It Goes, 4 Mother Knows Best. Like I would also go as far as saying that you kind of need both colors one. And this is Amber's one, right?
Yeah, I mean, Amber's biggest downfall was its its inability to deal with really big things or a big threat. Like, Amber's not good at challenging and banishing things.
No,
they didn't have any. Yeah, they didn't have anything that's just said remove card, even with some sort of caveat involved. And we had Last Stand, I think, revealed that says if a character
which is also
challenged,
playable, I think. Yeah,
I do. Yeah, I do too. I think World's Greatest Criminal Mind is better though, because this hits a lot of things that Last Stand. Am I saying that right? Is it Last Stand?
Yeah, Last Stand. It's banish character that's been challenged this turn.
Okay, So like,
I mean, that is good because it can be any side. It can be any size thing. You've just got to have something you don't mind throwing into it. And in Amber, that could be quite a lot. Like you say, there's a lot of stuff that won't banish something, but there's a lot of stuff that can hit it for 1 and survive because of their big butt. So I actually do think that Last Stand is also a solid removal in Amber, to be honest. But I think this probably just edges it, the fact that it's a song. And
yeah, I think the reason this edges it, I don't remember if Last Stand is uninkable or not. If it's uninkable, that's a downfall. But also, with Last Stand, you're giving up opportunity cost of whatever you're using to swing into the thing you want to banish.
Yeah.
Whereas with World's Greatest Criminal Mind, especially if you're doing it with support, you're questing with your support characters, so you're gaining lore, and you're using your support character to give an opposing character extra strength so that you can then banish it with World's Greatest Criminal Mind.
Yeah.
And it's like you're not really losing any opportunity cost. With this card.
So Last Stand is
I agree.
uninkable.
Both are great.
Yeah, Last Stand is uninkable. Yeah, but it's a 2. Yeah, I still think it's pretty solid. But yeah, this one edges it for me. This is a really great card, and I think still now I think it's probably the best thing a YouTuber's got to show off. So
yeah, I would agree. I'll concede that.
Yeah, it was nice to have the title for a day. Next up, a 4-costed. Uninkable 2/4 for 2 lore in Sapphire Sissu, a divine water dragon with the ability I trust you. Whenever this character quests, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may put 1 into your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Legendary for Sapphire, our first legendary for Sapphire in set 2. I don't mind this card. I think this is a very mid-tier legendary.
It's kind of how I felt, and like I've questioned that opinion throughout the week because I've seen some people look at this card, say, "Oh, this is really good." Obviously, it's a develop your brain on a body and one that you can use. I would argue it's
technically better, slightly better than a develop your brain, purely because you may draw the card. And you can put both on the bottom with this. Whereas develop your brain is you have to take one of them. Now, 99.9% of the time, you're happy taking a card off your deck, obviously. But there are a couple of fringe cases. I always think that the optional ability is always better than a ability you have to finish off. So,
yeah, I think I'm really happy that Sapphire is seeing more ways to draw cards or cycle through their deck. It was a real thing they lacked in the first chapter. So I think that alone makes this card pretty okay.
Yeah.
It's the uninkable 4-cost with mediocre stats.
Yeah. There's so many little things that would have just made this cracked. Like a 2/5 would have maybe been enough.
Yeah, a much different card.
when this character is played or whenever it quests, ... would have made it, you know, just so you get that instant hit of it coming down, you know, like a John Silver.
Right. Because that's my biggest concern with the card is like, how often do you get to actually use its ability versus it just gets removed before it does anything?
Yeah.
Or even like, is it good enough that if
it
you
probably happens once, because I don't think it's worth a removal spell.
Okay.
So I think it probably gets to quest once, and then it gets hit by something.
So then that's what I was gonna say next. Is a one-time trigger for that ability enough for this card
To warrant it?
to be good? Yeah, as an uninkable.
If Develop Your Brain said everything it said, and then at the bottom it said gain 2 lore, would you pay 4 for it? Because that's basically what you're asking, right?
Kinda, except you're taking a gamble on do you actually get it off?
I guess there is a chance that this dies before it even gets to thing 1, but I don't. I feel like
it's probably low.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Somebody's asking there. Is forecasted legendaries a thing? And I don't know, actually. I'm gonna look now.
4 ink legendary.
4 ink legendaries, yeah. We've had, I'm just in the 3s. No, I think that's the only one.
Oh, that's another thing. Sapphire just likes to skip over their forecast cards, by the way.
Yeah. Well, because of Mickey, right? Detective Mickey just jumps past all of them. Yeah. No, I think this is the only forecast legendary we've seen so far in Floodborne. Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, this could be. A few people saying it'd be nice if it was 3 lore. I think I'd rather a larger stat on it than I don't mind the 2 lore. If this was like a 3/5 or even a 2/5, I'd be much happy about it.
I agree.
Jump ahead into this. It could be powerful. Gaston gives good hugs. Yeah, Gaston wipes this thing out, man. Exactly. 2-drop. So. Yeah, but I still think probably playable, and a great looking card as well.
I do too. Yeah, really great looking card. I think it's good enough right now to be played and be tested with until we see, I don't know, maybe more consistent ways to kind of do what it does. But yeah, do you think so? This same name, Sissu Divine Water Dragon, I think is the name of the art on the
deck
card
box
sleeves or the dock backs.
The sleeve and the deck box. On the back of the packaging for that, it's got like it literally says Sissu Divine Water Dragon by Grace Tan. So either it's a miscredit and it's incorrect, or it means that the art on the deck box and the sleeves is the enchanted art, I think. Or there's a third option that we don't know about yet. But the only time there's been a card with multiple arts on it, but the same name, is an enchanted, right?
Yeah.
So, I think, which is weird because I feel like they were so hushy about enchanted in set 1, and I feel like they're still going to be.
That's what I was going to say.
Weird,
It would surprise me if the art just on the cards and deck boxes was the enchanted art. I feel like that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it doesn't, but I feel like it diminishes the rarity and excitement of finding and being able to see the enchanted, art.
Let me see. It's credited. Oh, sorry. Just move that over.
It's credited properly.
Yeah. So it's not credited to Grace Tan then? I've got it here. I'll bring it up. Hold on. I want to see what it says.
I think he's saying that the art, it's correct. Like whatever's on the deck box and the card sleeves is credited properly to the artist.
Yeah, it says Sissu Divine Water Dragon, illustration by Grace Tran. But it's not that.
It's not that art on the card. Yeah.
So that means that she's done
both
more
are
art,
Grace.
and either that's like because I think that could be like an item or an action as well, right? Like the art that's on the sleeve, it's like she's holding this orb. It could be like we've confirmed. Okay, so right, you're just saying that you have confirmed that Grace Tran did both. Okay, cool. So we know at least that. So it could be that it's an action and maybe just the card then title is miscredited, or we're seeing an enchanted. I don't know. That just feels weird to have enchanted on sleeves. I don't know.
But I agree.
We'll see. It doesn't really matter, really, does it? So
No,
but it's
just interesting.
Something worth noting. We get the deep dives here for you, folks. We get the deep dives.
You're welcome. That one was free.
All right, next up.
All right, next up we have an inkable 2-cost action song card in Amethyst. It's a common card called Legend of the Sword in the Stone. Chosen character gains Challenger +3 this turn. I don't love combat tricks, even when they're songs, at least right now. Probably an okay limited card, but otherwise,
Nah, it's trash.
I don't
This
see
is a
it
trash card. I don't
really
like this at
getting
all.
play.
I don't like this at all. I don't like a song that's a combat trick. Seems weird because that means you need to put 2 cards into it.
Yeah, it's very like not synergistic at all.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Don't love it. We'll move on. Go on. You can read this one out as well.
Okay. So we have another inkable 2-cost card in Ruby this time, an uncommon card, Queen of Hearts, Impulsive Ruler. She's has 2 strength, 2 willpower, and 1 lore with Rush. I think this is cool. A really cheap Rush character. I think this is the cheapest Rush character we've seen.
Yeah, I think so.
And so I don't know how much this actually hits with only 2 strength, but knowing that you can play something really cheap and immediately get rid of something else is kind of cool, you know?
I mean, who knows where the meta's going to go? I would love this to kill a Simba, you know, and the fact that it doesn't. But I still think. Go ahead.
That was my first thought, was that this doesn't kill Simba.
Yeah.
And does that make it a bad card, you know?
Yeah, I think she's really good. And at first 20 makes a good point. It could be a surprise support Russia. Yeah, you could throw support onto it and then it goes up in value. I think I value Rush a lot higher than I value Reckless.
Yeah. I value Rush way higher than I value Reckless.
Okay, cool. Good. Because I think because I always kind of put them together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I haven't really given them that much thought. Like I kind of forget that Gaston hasn't got Rush.
Yes. I have to remind myself that because I mean they're so often paired together.
Yeah,
well, Reckless and Rush.
You say they're so often. There's Maui.
It's Maui, and there's got to be another.
I don't know. I can't think of.
There's got to be one more. Maybe there isn't. I'm just tweaking. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know because Maui's
I don't know.
the
Chat,
guy, right?
tell us.
Like the chat will tell us soon enough. Reckless is more of a drawback. Rush is not. Yeah, no, Rush is great. Like you use it or you don't, right? You can ignore Rush. It's a can. They can challenge.
Yeah.
So Rush, Reckless.
I'm probably wrong.
There is. It's Maui. Maui has Rush and Reckless, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I just always think of Gaston.
Yeah. Takar? No, Takar is just Reckless.
No, yeah.
Yeah, no, Russian
Reckless
Mary's the only one with both. So in that case, maybe it's obvious that Rush is better. But you're right. I feel like a lot of them would have both. They just kind of go so well together. They begin with the same letter. They're mostly on the same color. I don't know. I just always I always lump them together. But no, Rush is this is good. I think this is good. I think it might see play. I don't think it replaces Gaston.
No, and I don't think it replaces like Rafiki or any of those either.
No. Maybe that means it's not good enough then.
Yeah.
For that reason, but I still don't hate it just as a card in a bubble. I think we'll see whether it comes in. Hook. No, Hook is Rush, but he gives
evasives
to Reckless. You should know that.
Yeah,
you
that's my card.
Memorized.
I revealed it. Shout out to Kim Kindle. Awesome art on that card.
Yeah. All right. Heran Flav. I'm saying Heran Flav. That's his name.
I'm glad you're taking this card, by the way, because I have zero idea who this person is. I even looked at the English version and I was like, no clue.
It still doesn't make sense. Have we seen the English version of this card?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I didn't find it, but I just saw like the translated version because I'm like, is that his actual name or is that is it German? Is this the German version or the French version?
French, yeah. So
or is it the French version of him?
So he's based on. I'm desperately trying to remember what his actual name is, but he's based on a character from the Hound of the Baskervilles. and I can't. I'm gonna have to Google it. 'Cause it's gonna annoy me if I don't know.
It's not Hiram, is it?
Hiram.
Because that's what I saw on the.
His name is
English
Hiram.
translation.
His name in
The film.
in Great Mouse Detective is Heran Flav. Yes.
Okay.
But I don't. But the character in the Hen of the Baskervilles is called something like that. Like Mrs. Judson in Basil the Great Mouse Detective is based on Mrs. Hudson.
Okay.
It's basically it's very similar to Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And he's Basil of Baker Street. Sherlock Holmes lives on Baker Street.
Right.
So there's a lot of crossover like that. But I can't for the life of me remember the character this guy's based on. But he's based on a character from Hen of the Baskervilles. Anyway, Heran Flav. I don't have the translation, so let's have a look. When this character quests, you may banish an item and gain 2 lore. Does that sound right?
Draw 2 cards.
Draw 2 cards. Cart, of course. When this character quests, when you play this character and when he quests, you can banish an item and draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
I don't know. It goes into the Tamatoa deck, I guess.
That was my thought. It goes into an items deck. To just
Tamatoa,
items, I guess.
I find Tamatoa rarely has something in the bin to go and get. Tamatoa's on playabilities, you can bring an item out of the discard. And not that I see him get played much, but when I do, there's rarely something in there because I ain't destroying items.
I feel like Sapphire is trying so hard to make items work, and I just don't know that these cards help it.
Yeah.
Make it better, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. It also seems a bit aggressive. It's getting rid of items and bringing them back. I'm like, I think what makes items work is good items.
Yeah, exactly.
Not all the payoffs for not good items.
Because that was my thought. Instead of Tamatoa, I went the aerial route. I was like, you play a card with aerial, you play aerial, quest, play an item, play this card, banish the item to draw more items that you can play to keep readying Ariel so that she can keep questing. And I don't know. I just feel like, again, that's a lot of stuff.
Your wheels are spinning, but I don't know if you're actually getting anywhere. Yeah, a few people asking. Sorry. Yeah. It's your item of yours to draw 2 cards.
Yes.
If it was banish an item and draw 2 cards, it would be.
Oh, it'd be
hella
great.
playable.
Yeah.
I would 100% play that. But no, it's your own one. So really, it's just about getting your item in the discards, because at the moment the only reason you want to do that is because of Tamatoa, I think, really.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that's weird is items are either banish this item to do a thing,
which wouldn't work.
And I don't think this counts as banishing the item to do the thing.
No.
Or it stays on the field to do a thing.
Yeah.
And so it's weird for a card to be like, just throw the item away to draw 2 cards. Because then you're telling me, okay, you're just running bad items. I would rather just run items.
It might as well just be a blank card at that point, is if you're happy to just ditch it. Because none of them are super situational either, right? Like the ones you want to play, it's draw a card or, look at, I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe we're missing something and I'm sure it's coming, but right now I don't get it. This next one's from Basil as well.
Am I taking it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the order we're doing them in. So we take one each.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll just trade. We're just trading back and forth. Yeah. Okay. So this is a Ruby Inkable 3-cost card with 3 strength, 2 lore, fidget. I think that's Radigan's Henchman or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
He has 1 lore. He's a common, and he has evasive. Another evasive card.
It's an evasive 3-cost. Sure. Do we like that stat line? I don't know.
Well, after seeing, no, I guess Cruella doesn't have evasive. She just has evasive on her turn.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's worth something. I don't know. It comes out a turn earlier than Pongo, and you can quest with it before Pongo can quest. So I don't know. Like the thing with evasive is the cheaper the evasive, the better, I think. Because
get them out quicker before there's answers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like Pongo was already pretty good, and I
Yeah.
felt like he was pretty expensive to be the cheapest. I mean, other than Pascal conditionally, but pretty expensive to be one of the cheapest evasive cards to play.
Yeah.
And if Pongo was like 3 cost, then
Mm.
he would have been just like really great. And so I think it's not bad for an evasive deck. Oh yeah, people are saying Peter Pan.
It is similar to Peter Pan, but Peter Pan was uninkable, I think.
No, not the evasive one.
Oh, it's the
Rush.
Yeah, the Emerald Rush one's uninkable.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
See, I guess you're right.
They all sort of blend into one.
Yeah, the red Rush Peter Pan is uninkable, and the evasive Emerald is not.
Isn't. So I suppose it's just, this is a way to get out of Emerald if you want to play evasives. Maybe that's what they're looking at, because at the moment evasive is spread across 3 colors.
So just playing in like a bunch of starter deck tournaments, it was annoying to go up against Pascal because there were like evasive ways to deal with evasives and all of those. But something like Jetsam was a problem, or like something like Pongo was a problem. So I always liked keeping the evasive Peter Pan in there because I knew at the very least I can play him and get rid of a Jetsam or a Pongo, and they can't just like quest for free. So at the very least, I kind of like it for that reason. Like maybe you run it as I can.
So you're running this one
evasives.
as an answer to evasives as opposed to necessarily just an evasive for yourself, then?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, in red, sure. Until we see the red, this has evasive on my turn, 2 cost 3/2, like we see in a bunch of other colors now.
Yeah. Well, there's no real downside to it having evasive always, because evasives can swing into non-evasives, right? So. But I do think they're really trying to make evasive a thing here. We'll see whether it is or not. We'll race through this next one. 5-costed Inkable, 5/5 for 2 in Emerald, Varana, Fang Chief. Well, actually, there is something interesting to be said about this, I think, because whilst people have cried power creep since the very first cards of Set 2 were shown, I have vehemently disagreed. But this is kind of power creep.
This is kind of. It's probably the first like blatant version of it.
This is just a little bit better than Jumbo Jakiba, ignoring classifications, because that is the only difference. And obviously, at the moment, they don't play much of a part in the game.
I'd say Villain's a better classification anyway.
But I think if you are just even including those at the moment, yes, Villain is more important than the Inventor or whatever. But it's just better than Jumbo Jakiba, so that's weird and
sad.
It's not great. The only reason I will say it isn't power creep is because there's a really great video by Extra Credits who cover this really well, and they explain that if a card is not played because it's bad and below the curve, and the game designers attempt to make it playable by printing a better version of it, then it's not power creep, because the first one wasn't getting played anyway. I don't think this gets played personally. I don't either. It's limited fodder. So the only reason I don't think it's power creep is because both Jumba and Varana just aren't good. So it doesn't really matter if one's slightly less not good.
Yeah, I think something interesting about like vanillas and whether they get played. In Miami, we saw something really interesting with the Ruby Amethyst deck that made it. I think it went furthest was they ran the vanilla Elsas. I think they were like 4/4s.
Oh, for the shift.
And so I think, and I think that's something to say that like there are places in the meta for vanillas to be good, and like there were a couple Aimer Steel decks that ran the Steel Maui's vanilla Maui's because he was just big.
Yeah.
So like there's places for them, but I think they have to serve like. They're not played because they have good stats, or like they're just, I don't know, like a 5-ink 5/5.
Yeah.
They're usually played for like, this is a good shift target, and it doesn't die to this thing,
and
it takes out, whatever.
Yeah, I do love the fact that Floodborn as a mechanic is always going to make us reevaluate either vanillas or older cards of this, the same name. I think that is fantastic and a real great way of keeping the card pool fluid. So that's really good. But yeah, at the moment, unless we get a Floodborn Varana, and who the hell is Varana, right? Like nobody cares. Like I know that she's the the Queen of the Fangs in
Sisu,
Ray and the Last Dragon, but still, like, she's very far down the list of characters who get Floodborns, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
So next we have an inkable 2-cost Emerald Uncommon card. Cheshire Cat, always smiling, with 3 strength, 2 willpower, and 1 lore. I love this card purely for the art.
It's incredible.
This is like I think it's a good card regardless. Just a 2 inkable 3/2 is a good stat line. But man,
it got even better today as well.
Yes, really good after today.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, this art, I cannot wait to see this thing in foil.
Yeah.
It's
phenomenal.
phenomenal.
It reminds me very much of like the Salvador Dali work that he did, where it's like optical illusion stuff, where it's like a guy's face, but then it turns and it's like a doorway and stuff. And yeah, it's so good. Yes, Justin says, speaking of shift targets, I mean, you're right. To be honest with you, this was, I forget, it was a French content creator who got to show off 4 cards, 3 of them being vanillas. And it was like, oh well, that's fine, I guess. Good for him. That's not great. Like I would really struggle to make a video about a vanilla card.
Yeah, just about a vanilla card.
I'm very glad that so far Ravensburger have given me something a bit more interesting to talk about. But this, yes, instantly got better today with the Cheshire Cat Floodborn that we'll take a look at in a minute. But yes, even still, 2-costed inkable 3/2. It's not terrible. It's it trades up a little. Another one that I feel like we might see a Floodborn for in this set. That's a 3-costed inkable 3/4. She's not on the screen. There she is. For 1 lore, Yzma. Vanilla Insomniac. I think that word is. Because she's peeling the cucumbers off her eyes like she does in the movie. Again, not much to say now, but I do feel like this could be, because it's very similar to Cheshire Cat. And we had an okay card in set 1, and a vanilla in set 2, and then a Floodborn for them both. And the Yzma's done exactly the same. An okay card in set 1, vanilla in set 2, which arguably is just wardrobe. It's the same stat line as wardrobe.
Yeah.
But
I'd love to see a Floodborn Yzma though.
Yeah, I can see it. It's a sort of character I feel could get one.
Yeah.
So that'd be really interesting. But as it stands, it's a vanilla. Not much else to say, really. Go ahead.
Next, we have an uninkable 4-cost Sapphire action card. It's a rare card called Falling Down the Rabbit Hole. It says each player chooses one of their characters and puts them into their inkwell, face down and exerted. I don't like this card right now. I can kind of see in the future cards getting printed that make this card a lot better, and it makes, like, it being uninkable makes me want to believe that there's something we don't know yet or don't see yet that makes this card, really good or something to play with. But right now, when this card got revealed, I think it was Citizens of Lorcana that revealed this one.
It was.
Everybody was saying.
I want to talk about that in a moment, but yeah.
Oh, this can banish Cusco, even though he has ward.
Yeah.
But it's so situational because your opponent gets to choose which card they put into their inkwell.
Yeah.
And Cusco would have to be the only card on board.
Yeah. Or the worst card on board, I guess.
Yeah.
Like they do have to pick something. So I think there is something to be said about edicts. I don't know if that's a term from other card games, but that's certainly what you would call this in Magic. An edict is an effect that gets around that when cards can't be targeted, because it's not targeting a card on their board, it's targeting them to deal with a card on their board. So it gets around, in Magic it would get around hexproof, which is the sort of equivalent of ward, I guess. So there is something said about edicts. They can be strong. But this, yes, I think it's a little too situational. It only goes in a ramp deck, I think, because I wouldn't hate playing Detective Mickey on 3 and playing this on 4 and inking my Detective Mickey once I've already got the ink out of him. Like, I don't hate that, but I still think there's probably more interesting things that I want to do on turn 4. and
Yeah.
on turn 4.
Well, if you played Mickey, you have 5 ink.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's not even you're not even on curve anymore. So yeah, there's something to say about that, I think. And then also on turn 4, if you've gone first, your opponent's on turn 3, so you're only getting rid of whatever they've played on turn 3, right? Which chances are isn't incredibly impactful. I don't know. Later in the game, there's this could be really gross, but later in the game, you don't necessarily want to ramp.
Yeah, you don't need ramp
I
at
don't
that
know.
point.
I'm maybe trying to make this better than it is. So here's the thing. I love Jared, and I love the team over at Citizens of Lorcana, and I'm so incredibly glad they got a card reveal, because they are absolute pillars of the community, and they totally should have got one in set 1. And I'm so glad that they've been recognized by Ravensburger, and I'm so glad that they got at least an interesting card to show off. And I love the fact that they milked the hell out of it and got like a 20-minute video.
They did, yeah.
And the scan lines came down like an old printer. I absolutely adored every second of it. But yeah. As people in the chat are agreeing with us there, I'm desperately trying to find the good in this card, but I'm not sure it's there.
Yep.
All right, we move on into Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs territory. So these were all revealed on the same day. They were all revealed by Disney Parks news outlets, which I thought was a great touch. It just shows you that for all we moan about Ravensburger being a little bit sort of slapdash with how stuff comes out, they are actually perhaps a little bit more tuned into what's going on than we give them credit for. Like I say, this was 8 cards all revealed on the same day by 8 different sources, and it all works seamlessly. And so we're diving into Dwarf time. We start off with a 2-costed uninkable 1/2 for 1 lore Snow White Trespasser. How do you do? You pay 1 less lore to play 7 dwarves characters, and I remember when this one was showed before we saw anything else. The wording, like the 7 is capitalized. To me personally, it made perfect sense that 7 dwarfs was going to be a classification. But a lot of people were like, "What? You play 7? How does that work? Only the first 7 you play, dwarves? Or what?" Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing, and like one of them says, like, every. Which one is it? Well, I want to cut back to it because I'll forget otherwise.
Is it dark that reduces?
Is it dark that reduces? Yeah. Whenever this character quests, you pay 1 less for the next character you play. No, it's not. Was it Bashful? Oh yeah, it was Bashful. This character can't quest unless you have another 7 dwarfs character in play. And people were reading it saying, "I've got to have another 7 out. 7 dwarves." No, just read the card. Anyway, we'll get to there. Snow White. I will say that outside of maybe 1 or 2 of these dwarves, and I think it's fair to try and talk about these all together. We will go through them all, but I think outside 1 or 2 dwarves, you're playing all of these together, and you're only playing Snow White if you're playing all the dwarves. Really, I don't think she sees value out of 1 or 2 of them in the deck otherwise. But I still think she's good. I think if you're playing dwarves, you play Snow White, I guess.
Yeah, I think just like you said. She goes in a 7 dwarves deck. I don't think she goes in anything else.
Yeah.
I even think she's on the borderline of like not great because let's see, you have the 7 dwarves in this card that's that's 32 cards if you max out.
Yeah.
7 dwarves and Snow
Did you
White.
in your head just then?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And she is super weak, like as a body, and she has to be out to get the discount. And as we'll see in a second, like the dwarves, I mean, they're not expensive, but you're not playing a lot of them until later into the game. And so maybe this means you can get 1 or 2 out a turn early, but it makes me wonder, like, is it worth just running a better 4 copies of a different card and the other dwarves, or
I mean,
whatever?
I suppose she competes with Lantern.
Exactly. Like, do you play Lantern instead of Snow White?
Yeah.
If you're only going to discount 1 dwarf a turn, you might as well just run Lantern, I think.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I can see having like 2 of her out and making some of the dwarves free and some of them cost 1. And I will also say that I pretty guarantee that we're getting a Floodborn Snow White as well that this goes on to.
Yeah, Illuminators just said Floodborn shift target.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, like 100%. 100%. No, not one day. I think in this set, there is space for her in Amber alphabetically. There is room between Snow White and Sneezy for a. I think there might even be 2 spaces in between. Let's have a look. 24, 22. No, there's one. There is one space between Sneezy and Snow White, and Snow White is later, but her name is Snow White Unexpected House Guest, and U is really late into the alphabet. So 100% there's space. Number 23, Snow White, Mecha Snow White, and it's like she's the head and all the dwarves are underneath her. And
See, I was going to say, if we do see it, I just hope we see Exodia Snow White.
Yeah, if you have them all out, you just win.
Yeah, you just win. Snow White, I don't know.
It's interesting because the thing is, what I kind of don't want to see like a high rarity and a Floodborn like wasted on her being like, all your dwarves get +1 lore, because because that's cool. But there's only that one deck that the ever goes in, right? So like, I feel like it would be a little bit of a waste of a higher rarity, but I still could totally see it happening. Yeah, 7 costed, shift 4. It could. I feel like it's probably going to be something like dwarves get +1 lore, or what? Because what would be, or like she gets +1 lore for each dwarf you have out.
Dwarf.
Yeah, or something like that. +1 lore for each dwarf in play seems really strong, though.
I think it would have to be, though, because like I don't know. I mean, dwarves probably aren't bad. But
I think it's fun, but I don't think it's not like a meta deck. I don't think.
No, I don't think it's good enough to be like competitive or whatever, But yeah, I think in order for it to be like, I don't know. I really like the dwarves. It's the closest thing to Murlocs we have right now, if you're familiar with Hearthstone, and I loved Murlocs.
So I'm not familiar, but when you said that in somewhere this week, I went and looked, and yeah, it's good. And then the magic equivalent is they're called slivers.
Yes, I've heard.
And they're arguably stronger than this because slivers are, every sliver literally says all slivers get like that's their thing. So they're a lot stronger than this. Slithers are maybe closer to like Flotsam and Jetsam in a way, because like it would literally be the dwarves would say, like one of them would say all dwarves get support, and another one would say all dwarves get rush, and the other one would say all dwarves get, you know what I mean? Like that's usually how slivers work, really. But give us an alt win con with Snow White. That would be interesting. Do you reckon like just the Floodborn just says if you have this and all the dwarves out, you win? I feel like it's a bit early. I kind of like that. Cons.
I kind of like that because although the dwarf deck is fun and synergistic, I feel like we don't have that like oomph card yet.
We don't,
you know what I mean?
And I would like to have seen a couple of the dwarves maybe at rarity with some slightly more impactful abilities, but they're not. They're all common and uncommon. I tell you what, the problem is we kind of have to talk about them all as a group. Let's just race through the dwarves, and we'll just kind of say whether or not we think they'll see play outside of dwarfs, if that makes sense. So first up, we've got Dopey, 3 costed inkable, 2/2 for 1 lore. When this character is banished, your other 7 dwarf characters get +2 strength until the start of your next turn.
I don't think this sees play outside of a dwarf.
Well, deck, no, I don't think it does. I think it's one
really
of the better ones, though. I think it's one of the better ones if you are playing it. I also like. Is it weirdly thematic that like when Dopey dies, the rest of them go into a blood rage and avenge his death? Like it's.
I don't know. Is
that what happens in the movie? Like it just feels weird. He dies and the rest of them all just go. Suddenly become hench. But I think he's in the dwarf package. He's probably fine. Do you want to take the next one?
Yeah. So the next one is an inkable 2-cost Sneezy, very allergic. He has 1 strength, 4 willpower, and 1 lore. Whenever you play this character or another 7 dwarfs character, you may give chosen character -1 strength this turn.
Yawn. I really don't like taking strength off stuff. I just think it's so dull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You're right there with the dopey one. First 20 points out that it does stay until the next turn, so it's both offensive and defensive. Whereas Sneezy is purely offensive because it's only you're going to be hitting on the turn. But yeah, he's not good. But he's a 2-drop. But yeah, he's weak. Next up, I haven't got Sleepy right. I've got Sleepy down as Sneezy. Hold on. Do you want to do Oh, you have to hold on while I do it. Sorry. Hold on. I can do it super quick. Sleepy. Look at that. Nobody even noticed. Sleep. Why is that working?
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
And we'll be back
Sleepy.
after this commercial
there
break.
We go. That's why we run ads. To fix that sort of stuff. 2 costed, 2/3 for 2 lore, Sleepy. This character enters play exerted. I don't hate this, to be honest. And there's maybe some decks like this could see play outside of dwarves. I don't think it does. It's incredibly thematic though.
So it's important to note here, you can't trigger Rockstar Stitch with Sleepy, by the way.
So that's probably a nombo there then, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's fine in a dwarf deck, but I go so back and forth on this card.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
I think it's pretty good on turn 2. I think because there's usually not stuff that can take it out. If your opponent took the play, then maybe they can play a rush character that deals 3 and they can take it out immediately. But other than that, just having to play it exerted is pretty tough. I mean, I guess at worst, you're kind of taunting your opponent to like, hey, waste one of your characters. On challenging this.
It's soft bodyguard, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like it's basically what bodyguards do. They come out exerted and say, "Deal with me," and this is basically doing the same. It's coming out exerted and saying, "If you don't deal with me, I'm going to start tapping for 2 on turn 3," which isn't, I don't know. But yeah, Hook goes into this all day long.
Captain Hook, yeah.
So. But at least the first one we've seen that could see play outside of dwarfs, but probably won't. Go ahead.
Next is an inkable 5-cost card. Happy, good-natured. He has 3 strength, 5 willpower, and 2 lore with support. And I really like this card. I think this is one of the dwarf cards that you could see played outside of a dwarf's deck. It's basically a worse Maximus.
Yeah.
Really, you're trading off, like he has extra lore, which I think is good for a support character. So I guess if you don't care too much about the bodyguard and you only care about support, you might run this over Maximus, I think.
Or maybe both. If there is some sort of weird support build, maybe they both are in there and it's just whichever one you draw, you play, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Not the worst. Lumiteers there make a good point before. Rapunzel target, I assume you were talking about Sneezy. But honestly, like most of the dwarves are Rapunzel targets. Like most of them have got pretty solid butts on them. To get some damage on them for Rapunzel heal. So, but I think he's not the strongest of them, but I don't. But I think he could see play. Support needs a little bit more support, but I do think it's maybe getting there. The more I see it, I don't know. Grumpy, 4 costed, 3/4 for 1 lore. Your other 7 dwarf characters get +1 strength. Yeah. No,
I like this card.
Oh, do you? Is this one?
Yeah. I mean, obviously only in a dwarf deck, but if you can build up the board, give your stuff extra strength, I think that's good enough.
But just imagine if this was a rare and it said your other dwarf characters get +1 strength for each other dwarf character that's on the board. Right.
All of them get +1 strength for every other dwarf character?
There's slivers that say it. There are slivers that say really slivers get +1/+1 for each sliver that's out. And it's insane and it's gross. And it's less gross in this because doing damage isn't the win condition. So they could have totally done it. They could have totally the cowards. I've called Ravensburger like a coward 4 times this week. They could have. They're just. These are all too safe. I get it. They're in the starter deck, but they're all common and uncommon, and I'm bored by them. Give me them. Give me 2 of them rares and make them awesome. Coat of arms. I don't like. It wouldn't be broken. It wouldn't be broken. It would not be broken if they all said, because they would still only get.
Trying to break the game.
They would still only get so big. They would still only get so big. They would still have the same butts on them. There is a point in the game where you get diminishing returns from the strength of a character being so high, and it's much lower than you think.
I don't know. We have Goofy. Pretty high
Doesn't
ceiling.
matter. He's not going to be played for the most part. Like look at what's the name? Look at the Cave of Wonders Jafar. You know? Oh, it gets as strong as your hand size is. So why aren't you playing it with a whole new world and making it a 7/5? Because it doesn't really matter. 7 doesn't really matter. There's like 2 things it can kill, right? And it's the exact same with this. It would sound really great.
Okay.
10 strength and 100 strength is exactly the same. Exactly, Stephen. Thank you. That's the point I'm trying to make. At the moment, as it stands, a 10 strength character and a 100 strength character is exactly the same.
But can you imagine if you had Grumpy on board?
Yeah.
And then Dopey gets banished. The dwarves are going mad.
Yeah.
The dwarves,
for what though?
Or Hulk. I know. I'm just like.
Oh yeah. So what? Like So as it stands, all your dwarf gets is +1. Dopey gives them +2. So yeah, 3. So the biggest dwarf you'd have is
it's like
Happy.
A 6/5.
Oh no! So hold on, because Happy can support. So you can put 3.
Oh my god!
You can put 3 onto another. It would have to be another Happy. So you've got double Happy out. So Happy supports onto Happy for the 6. Grumpy gives him 7. Dopey dies and makes him a 9. So as it stands, the biggest it can be still doesn't kill the Night Goofy.
And then you use the Amber Banish card on Goofy.
Yeah. Each dwarf gets an extra lore for each other dwarf. Now that would be broken.
That would be great. That's what I think would be a good payoff.
Each dwarf gets an extra lore for every other dwarf.
Oh no, not
that's what Papa Ruby says.
I thought you meant. I thought like every other dwarf gets an extra lore.
Yes,
not they all get an extra one.
I feel like that's maybe what the Snow White would be, but that's a hell of a lot stronger than all dwarves get +1 strength for every dwarf that's out. Like because you say it just doesn't matter. Once it gets to a certain number, it just doesn't really matter. So I'm not trying to break the game.
You heard it here. Dwarves are horrible.
Believer. Dwarves are all awful. The art is incredible. I love the fact that they all go together.
Yes.
I love how thematic they all are. That we still have a few more to do. Bashful,
we haven't gone through them yet.
4 costed 2/5 for 3 lore. Can only quest if there's another dwarf in play. This is incredible in dwarfs, but only in dwarfs.
Yes, really good dwarfs though.
It's really good dwarf. Yeah, it's probably the best dwarf, I think. And then Doc.
Yeah.
Says 3 costed 2.
Whenever this character quests, you pay 1 less for the next character you play this turn.
I think this can see play outside of dwarfs. This is Lantern on a body.
Yes. Yeah, I think Doc is a really solid card in Amber.
I think he's probably the best of them. Just looking at them as Amber cards, I think Doc is the best. Looking at them as dwarfs, I think Bashful's the best. So.
Yes.
All right. I don't know how I feel about dwarfs, honestly. I genuinely change my mind like 10 times a day at the moment. There's a name hidden behind Bashful's bouquet. Yeah, there's a few. And I noticed a couple of them, but never really mentioned it. But then on the Illumitia stream earlier today, which is very good, by the way, if you don't watch it from 8 till 9 Eastern, 7 till 8 Central, they do an awesome live stream that's a little bit more focused on the art and the community. When they're not just 2 edgelords like us talking about the meta of dwarves,
trying to pretend like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And they had Kendall Hale on tonight, the artist who did these 7 cards, and he did say that there are names hidden. And you reckon there's one in the flowers behind Bashful? I didn't spot that one before. Let's have a look.
I can't see it close enough.
I gotta make it all big. Image. There's a name behind the flowers in Bashful. There is. Is that what it says? Am I reading it right?
No, I think
hidden
that's what
in
it said.
Bashful's bouquet.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm never finding this.
I can't see it. The one I spotted was in the grass behind Dopey. It says Anne, just in the long grass just under his hat. You can see quite clearly the grass says Anne.
One thing I thought was funny though, listening to the Illuminator stream, they interviewed Kendall Hale for those of you that didn't see it before this show. And you guys should go check it out after this one if you haven't. But I thought it was funny that Kendall was like, "Yeah, I've forgotten where I hid some of the names for these cards." It's like he doesn't even remember. He couldn't find them if he wanted to.
That's crazy. But yeah, overall, they're really great thematic, and I think they're all in the starter deck, which is probably why they're a little weaker than you would like them to be. But, maybe... Because the other thing they've got to be careful about, something you have to be really careful about with Slithers, and I imagine they had to be careful about Murlocs. You print one or two really good ones, it gets very out of hand very quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, Slithers can be pretty offensive in Magic. They used to be a lot stronger than they are now. There's a lot more ways to deal with characters in general in the game now. But yeah, for a time they were really quite broken, and you have to be very careful to just not the slightest little tweak. And I think this game is probably very aware of it because they're going to have the same problem with Floodborn. Is that you just make one or two Floodborns just a certain character a little too good, and it starts to get really out of whack. All right, more Amber then, but no Dwarf here. This is a 5-costed inkable 3/3 for 2 lore Mufasa, Betrayed Leader. The sun will set. When this character is banished, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card, you may play the character for free. They enter play Exerted. Otherwise, put it on the top of your deck.
I love it.
Yeah, I think I do, actually. Cool. Anything else? Yeah, I think it's really good. Obviously, you're going to want to play this in a character-heavy deck.
Yeah.
Which, a lot of decks are at the moment, really, so that's fine.
If there's anything I've learned about playing Ariel, Spectacular Singer, is that there's always a character on top of your deck.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine who plays on our league, his name's Jeremy, I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, has been playing the Amber Steel deck these last couple of weeks. In 7 games... He had, what did he tell me now? 13 aerial triggers and whiffed on 8 of them.
Yeah,
and he's playing Grab Your Swords, A Whole New World, Part of Your World.
Be Our Guest.
And I don't know if he's actually playing Be Our Guest. That might be the one. Maybe he's only running a couple of copies of that. But was whiffing like a lot.
Yeah.
So I think Mufasa's pretty good. I think he's we talked about it last week. My boss plays a bodyguard deck. This is really good in that because they're coming in exerted, right? So it's even better. You get through his bodyguards to kill Mufasa. Here's another bodyguard. Let's start all over again. Really, really good.
Yeah.
But I just think in general, you're going to get a lot of value off any enter the battlefield what are we saying? Enter play. I don't like battlefield. That's Magic. Enter play abilities, or just in general, it's just cheating stuff out. It's great.
Yeah, and it's just value. You just this gets played, and when it's gone, play something else for free. It's pretty good.
SB on the chat says it's a goofy enabler.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Now we're talking.
It kind of does make all of those just a little.
Just in time, Mufasa, get Goofy out. Turn 4, turn 5.
Well, you'd have to. You've got to kill Mufasa, right? So just in time.
I can smash Mufasa. Turn 4. Smash my own Mufasa and turn 4. Get Goofy out.
Yeah, but it is a good just-in-time target, I guess. 3/3 for 2 on turn 3, and then there we go. Goofy.
And whatever
that's the play.
Comes
That's the new
it.
play. That's the new meta, man.
God, I hated Goofy, but now I might have to just do
Turn
this
4,
for fun.
10, 10?
Yeah. Dude, I see the title and thumbnail now.
Broken.
Yeah.
Go
First ban card. Anyway. Next, we have an uninkable 5-cost Ruby card. Radigan, very large mouse. He has 3 strength, 3 willpower, and 2 lore. With an ability, this is my kingdom. When you play this character, exert chosen opposing character with 3 strength or less. Choose one of your characters and ready them. They can't quest for the rest of this turn.
What is this? Is this a Yu-Gi-Oh card? I was like, so much
Yeah,
reading.
this is a lot. When I was reading earlier to catch up for the show, I had to read this probably 3 times before I really got it all.
I've read this every single time I've read this, like I forgot it and had to go back and do it again. So when this comes into play, you exert a 3 cost or less on their board.
3 strength. 3 strength.
Oh, 3 strength or less.
Yeah.
Then you ready something of yours and hit it. Okay. So this is like a heroic outlaw. The new Shere Khan we're going to look at in a minute. And this is we know I was talking about before about like these decent bodied ruby vanillas. Like this is where they go, I think, like just hitting stuff and gaining lore through board management as opposed to actually generating lore yourself, But it's still a lot of caveats.
It's a lot of caveats, and I didn't have the time to do this, but I would really want to look at all of the characters we've seen so far that have 3 strength or less. And I'm assuming this this works the same way that the Amber song card that's so great does, where if I give a character minus strength, then I can hit it with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd have to look and see like what's out there that's really oppressive or really good that I would want to be scared of or remove anyway. Because there's a lot of cards that are good cards that are sitting at 4 strength.
Yeah.
That don't hit this or the greatest.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I forget
That's
the name
in
of
the
that
middle.
card. Yeah.
The world's greatest rat.
Villain something. Yeah.
What did you call me? Yeah, it's 5-costed uninkable as well. Oof, I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah. Next up, 2-costed uninkable. In steel for most this week, I thought this was Sapphire because it's, to me at least, it has like a bluey
looks a
twinge
little
to it.
Yeah.
Pick a fight. Chosen character can challenge ready characters this turn. Now, I kind of like this actually, even though it's uninkable.
Does this mean that a character that hasn't dried yet can challenge if you use this?
I can't imagine.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah, so it should say if able.
Because here's the thing. I knew Cinderella didn't work this way, but I was playing with people in the Discord because it's semantics. Cinderella says if you play, I don't remember if it's 1 or 2 songs. When you play a song, she may challenge a readied character.
Yeah.
So I was like, does that mean the turn that I play Cinderella, if I play whatever the conditions are, can she challenge a ready character even though she can't challenge a exerted character? The answer is no, she can't, because it's something along the lines of like, I don't know, she has to be able to challenge.
Yeah.
It's like the may is she can choose to challenge ready character if able. But this is can challenge, not may challenge.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that changes anything.
I just think it's a new company, a new TCG company not being neat enough with their wording, personally.
Okay.
I would say that no, you can't use this to give a character rush. No, Brandon's trying to break the game, big brain Brandon over here, that's right. No, I think but saying that, pretty much in every other card game I've played, the rules of the game come with a big asterisk next to them that says unless a card says otherwise, and card text overwrites rules text.
Right.
And yes, technically, looking at this from the eyes of other trading card games, I would say that
Can
it
challenge
can
ready characters this turn.
If you ignore the word ready, it can challenge characters this turn. They just happen to have to be ready.
Even if it's just ready. Like, wouldn't that mean you just can't challenge exerted characters? You can only challenge ready characters?
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like this might need an errata, and I think it should probably say chosen character can challenge ready characters this turn if able.
If able.
Yeah, that would be how I would word it, but even that's not super neat. Like they would have the way they would fix this for me personally is they would have to keyword the act of a card being dried. So like chosen dry character. And that just sounds awful. But that's that's how you would fix this, I think. Is keyword the state of a card being ready to combat, because there's a lot of stuff that I think people are questioning, like especially with the readying stuff. In fact, I had somebody come and bring me a card. I forget which card it was now. It's something that readied a card at League the other day, and we're like, so does this mean they can challenge on the turn they come out because I've readied them? And I was like, no, readying a card and the state of a card having its ink dry is two separate things, and even though without any influence they both happen at the same time, it is two separate states. So yeah,
real clear.
So it's a little unclear. The way you fix this is having a term for characters that have dry ink, and it's going to be one that needs rules checking a lot, I feel. But to be honest with you, sorry, we kind of got stuck in the weeds a little bit there. I think it's a great card. We only really talked about the rules of it. I think this is very, very playable, especially in Steel. I think this goes into that Emerald Steel deck with the beast that readies and stuff, like all day long. Because go ahead.
That's why I asked, because that's what I saw. I saw somebody compare it on Twitter, and I went, wait, does this mean Beast can challenge turn he's played? Because that's my biggest complaint with Beast, is he doesn't do anything when he's played, and I thought this might give him something to do. But regardless, I agree. I think this is a great card, especially with Beast. He can challenge stuff that maybe he couldn't reach before.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. But no, I think it's just that they can. The way to answer Beast, if you don't have removal, is to take a turn off from exerting, right? Like how many times have you sat across from a tiny tactician and not quested, knowing that the big tink's coming and big tink coming down and being able to hit stuff is a board wipe, right? So like the answer to big beast is like, well, I'm gonna have to take a turn off question here until I find an answer. This shuts that down, and this probably goes in if big tink sticks around, depending on how sort of strong resist ends up being. Like this probably goes in that deck as well, because it's it does exactly the same thing. It stops not exerting being an answer to those. Uncommon Carbo says chosen character able to challenge can challenge ready characters this turn.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like that's it, but it's gross.
That sounds horrible.
All right, we'll move on.
All right, next we have an inkable 3-cost Sapphire card, Judy Hopps, Optimistic Officer. She has 2 strength, 3 willpower, 2 lore. Don't call me cute. When you play this character, you may banish chosen item. Its player draws a card. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I think she's solid. I think she's really customizable. You're either using it as item removal on your opponent, or it goes into whatever deck that Heran Flav wants to go into, right?
I agree.
The again though, wording is a little iffy on. Well, it's not really. The wording's actually probably fine on this. If you are coming from a Magic the Gathering background, this card is broken.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because in Magic, a full stop dictates a second clause. So in Magic, I would put this card down and I would say, when I play this character, I may banish chosen item. I choose my item here and I choose not to banish it. I draw a
Oh
card.
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Did we get a ruling on that?
I don't think we have, honestly, but I'm pretty sure that the ruling is if the card is banished,
Yeah.
its player may draw a card. And it's not that it's necessarily written wrongly. It's just if you read it as a Magic player who's being a bit rules lawyery, that's how it would work. Yeah. So yeah, you would say I choose this card. I don't banish it, but I still draw a card. So, but as it stands, yes, I'm pretty sure this says either destroy one of your own items and you draw a card, or use this as item removal. But you have to get. Oh, we did get a ruling. Yes, sorry, we did.
Okay.
Oh yes, no, you're right. Actually, I think we did on Twitter, and I think they said that they said exactly that. Basically, that the player draws a card is a caveat on the fact that the thing has been banished. Yeah, the choosing happens after the may. Essentially, you must choose. Yes, if you choose an item, you must banish it. The may is you may choose an item or not. If you choose an item, it is banished and the player draws a card. That's it, and that's fine. Like that's how they're wording it in this game, and that's fine. But if you approach this from a magic rule set, which you shouldn't, but if you do, which a lot of players are, it's questionable how that one's read.
Yeah.
All right. But otherwise, yeah, good card. I think it'll see play. Full costed, uninkable, 2/4 for 2 in steel. Chief Bogo, he's just Dreamborn. That's weird. Okay.
It is a little weird.
Yeah. I only just noticed that in Subordination. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, deal 1 damage to each opposing character.
I think there's a card we'll talk about in a second that maybe combos with this card. Otherwise, I don't know why you wouldn't just play Giant Tinkerbell.
Yeah, because you can usually get her out on 4. I don't know why he's uninkable. Otherwise, I don't mind him. Yeah, I think he clearly goes in the Emerald Steel, pinging and banishing stuff. And like you say, I'm assuming you're talking about the Cheshire Cat that we're going to look at in a minute. Yes. It goes very well with, but yeah, I don't. Fun is fun there. So it's going to be great with the Cheshire Cat. It really is.
And granted, we haven't seen. So like I guess after Jafar, there's 13 Floodborn characters that we've seen for this set. We've already seen 4 Floodborn characters in Sapphire. Yeah. So I'm going to assume we're going to see at least 4 Floodborn characters in every other color. Yeah. Maybe there's other Floodborn characters or enough Floodborn characters that make this a little bit better. But outside of Cheshire, I don't know.
We've not seen anything else in... Oh, so Cinderella, the one of the early ones that they showed, is the only steel Floodborn we've seen.
Yeah, steel's missing a lot.
But yeah, we've now seen 4 in Sapphire. We've seen 3 in Emerald and 3 in Amber. And just... I want to say just Minnie Mouse. Was that new Scar not Floodborn? Was he just Dreamborn?
I think he's Dreamborn.
Okay, I thought he was Floodborn as well. Yeah, I think we're getting 4 of each, and we might even be getting
5 of each.
Like 1 of each. It could be 5. I was thinking it could be like 1 of each rarity, but then the Sapphire, it's uncommon, 2 super rare, and a rare. So, but I think 4 of each. I think seems pretty like a fair estimate, honestly. No Amethyst yet. That's crazy. Have we seen no Amethyst Bloodborns?
Really?
According to Lorcana, which is up to date, other than the 2 Jafars that we got today.
Oh, if it's Lorcana, then it's probably right.
Yeah, that's crazy. Chief Bogo is probably okay in that deck. I don't really know why he's uninkable though, but otherwise it's fine. Next up, go ahead.
Next, we have an inkable 5-cost Emerald common card. Ray, Carefree Firefly. He has 3 Strength, 3 Willpower, 3 Allure. I love this little bug. I don't think he's a good card. He's a worse Hans. So you just play Hans for 4 ink, and it's the same everything.
Yeah. He has evasive, so there is.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, that is true. You're right.
Paying
he does
1 law for him. You're paying 1 law for him to have evasive.
Okay, never mind. I take that back. He might be a little bit better. He's definitely like a really good. He's just another Emerald aggro. I'm going to play this and try to quest a lot with it. So like, maybe he sees playing that in one of those faster decks. I think he could.
Seems kind of crazy that he's common. I think he's pretty. It's a solid inkable card in Emerald, as Espeon says.
Yeah.
It's inkable, which is pretty good for Emerald.
Yeah.
I'll pick this all day in draft. I will take this guy all day long in a draft.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I actually do think he could probably see
slot.
It's
kind of crazy.
It's just the opportunity cost of him. 5 slot is like, especially in Emerald, 5 is where
there's a lot of
your
5.
big bomby stuff starts happening. Really, it's one thing I'll say about Emerald. There's a lot of uninkable stuff, but its top end is pretty low. Like it's 5 and 6 is about as high as you're getting in Emerald at the moment. So, good just in time target. Yeah, like I mean anything 5 that's just well statted is a good just in time target. But replaces Hatter. Oh, hey Eric. Yeah, maybe he does. What's Hatter again? A 2/4.
He's a 2/4, draws a card when he's challenged.
Which never happens. Which never happens. I have never drawn a card off Hatter. Ever.
I've drawn cards, but yeah. It happens. It probably happens less than it. It doesn't happen more than it happens, for sure.
Huh?
Okay. What am I saying? Yeah.
Yeah, it probably does replace Hatter, actually, in that right deck.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, Mickey BLT is an 8 cost inkable with 2 extra stats on the strength and willpower and 1 extra lore.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty dang good for 5 lore. Like you're missing out, or 5 ink. You're missing out on 1 lore and a couple stats.
And and like 4 is the break point on the willpower, I guess. So it's it's just under the bar there. But otherwise, I don't know, how is this a common? This should be a rare. This is better than a lot of the rares we've seen.
If you're playing Sapphire Emerald, though, you got Cogsworth.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know whether. So I really want to turn my Sapphire Emerald into like a Floodborn Madness thing, and I don't know if this finds a spot there because, let's put it this way: you never draw 2 cards off of Hatter. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because he's when he's challenged you draw, right? Not when he's banished. So, but people never throw more than one thing in. I genuinely, my Emerald Sapphire deck, it's a high 5 deck. Hatter alongside Cuzco and Ward of Aurora are pretty much the top end of the deck. I have never ever drawn a card off him. He's either been allowed just to quest and I've won, or he's been removed with removal. Like I genuinely don't think I've ever drawn one off him. So. But then maybe that's it. Maybe that's okay. Like he's not there to draw a card. He's there to be awkward and quest well. But yeah, maybe this replaces it. It could do. Next up, 3 costed inkable 3/3 for 1 lore in Ruby. Sheer Khan, Menacing Predator. When one of your characters challenges another character, gain 1 lore. Now, I'm pretty sure we did actually see this last week. I think we talked about it in German. But it was revealed today in English, so I thought it was worth putting it back in the rotation to talk about it properly. I can't remember where this was shown.
They showed it today in the Lorcana blog.
Sorry, I mean originally. I think it was because it was a really bad version of it.
I think was it a creator?
I don't know. It seems weird that they had a blog post about it. Maybe there's like a little slip and they dish cards out the wrong way around or something. But but I think he's great. Sorry, anyway, it doesn't matter. He's here now.
Yeah.
He's in English. I can't remember what we said about him last week, but I think he's great.
I do too. I wanted really badly to make Ruby Steel work this set because of a lot of the challenging stuff and getting lore or taking lore. That sort of thing, and I just couldn't make it work against the top decks. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Shere Khan maybe helps me out a little bit in that regard because I really like that play style and I think it would be really fun to do.
Yeah. I think he's really. It was it's Italy convention. Yeah, that seems right. Because I remember it being like it was like a photograph of a slideshow kind of thing. So, I think it's good. Like I don't think it's not a particularly well statted card, but it's not. He's one of these cards that you just don't quest with, right? Like he sits there and lets other things quest or other things challenge even. Like having him down when a heroic outlaw hits on the shift will be great. It's just an extra lore off Heroic Outlaw hitting something, right?
This might also, I don't remember if you already said this and I forgot, but this definitely might also be the deck for those big vanillas.
Yeah,
like
no,
with Shirkan
exactly. Yeah,
specifically.
100%. This goes in. If it's going to be a deck, like Radigan and this and Honest John that we're going to look at in a moment, he's more of a Floodborne thing, but still kind of same fit, I feel. But yeah, this definitely goes in that deck where it's just like I'm not necessarily going to get value out of this like Lumiere. What is it, like a 7/7? You know, like I'm not getting value out of him. But if he's out with Shirkan, then instantly it starts to get a lot more interesting. Yeah, and probably comes with the readying stuff as well. So quest first, ready,
definitely.
kill something. Oh yeah,
Gain lore.
we haven't seen much from Ruby, and I hope to see more of it and see that thing to see play. Let's Maui gain lore. Yeah, exactly. The Rush Maui fits in there perfect as well, right? Kill something. Oh, and also just a lore because go for it.
Yeah,
I feel like
imagine...
I feel like Ruby could win without ever questing.
Yeah, well, like imagine like Gaston arguably was pretty strong in the first chapter. Towards the end, he maybe got a little bit weaker. But like, imagine you play Gaston on turn 2, and then you have this on turn 3. You challenge with Gaston and gain a lore.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
The chat is, because I know the chat is like 30 seconds behind us or so, but it's the amount of times tonight we've said something and then the chat has popped up saying the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
But I mean, I guess
great minds first.
That means we're all on the same page though, right? Yeah, first it says turn 2 Gaston, turn 3 Khan, attack, gain a lore with Gaston. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. Next up, a good luck. I don't think we've seen an English version of this one.
So next up is an uninkable 3-cost Ruby card. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce
in the native language.
Honest John. 2 strength, 3 willpower, 1 lore. His ability, it translates whenever you play a Floodborne character, each opponent loses 1 lore.
I don't know. Like again, it makes Heroic Outlaw a little better. But I don't know whether the opportunity cost of playing him in the deck is right at the minute.
Yeah, I've said this before. I think it was last week. I'm not entirely sold on all the Floodborne matter stuff. I think there maybe is a deck for it. I don't know if Ruby is a color. Yeah, that is in that deck. So we'll see.
I suppose because at the moment I feel like Heroic Outlaw is the only Ruby Floodborne that's worth playing.
I can't. Oh, it's Scar. Okay,
it's Scar.
I can't even.
And, I can't even. And Minnie Mouse in set 2, the actions diver one.
Man, I want Ruby to get better.
It needs a good. Ruby needs a second good Floodborne for this to even be considering seeing play. Yeah. This is one of those cards that maybe in 5 sets suddenly becomes a banger.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. But as it stands, the fact that it's uninkable, I don't know. And I kind of understand why it's uninkable because it's just win more stuff, right? Like if you're like pretty much if you're playing a Floodborne that's playable, like not all Floodborns are good, but if you're playing a Floodborne that's good, you're getting value, right? Like the playable Floodborns are strong cards, and this is just like and also a more of a bonus. So I totally understand why it's uninkable, but as it stands, it's not incredible. Because I feel like the color that you want to pair with Ruby is Amethyst at the moment, which plays Spirit of Winter, but that's it, I think, Floodborne wise, and maybe Ruby Steel is a thing.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like Steel Floodborns other than Tink. Yeah, there's like 1 or 2. Whereas like I genuinely think Sapphire Emerald has a Floodborne Matters deck come in. Like I really do.
Yeah.
I might want to be willing it too much, but I really do think it's possible. I don't see it in Ruby at the moment. So
no.
Yeah. All right. What's next? No, we don't.
Next.
There we go. All right. Now we're into today's stuff. So everything we're talking about now has been shown off today. So we start off with an 8-costed inkable 5/6 for 2 lore in Emerald, Cheshire Cat, from the shadows. It's a Floodborn with Shift 5, which is a 3 ink discount, which is really good. Evasive. I didn't even notice this had evasive. Evasive and Wicked Smile.
Really?
Yeah, like, I mean, I kind of just glossed over that bit because the last bit is so good. Wicked Smile. Exert it to banish chosen damaged character. Woo-wee.
Yeah.
This is great,
really
isn't it?
good card. Yeah.
Best card in the set so far, people are saying. Yeah, I think it might be because
One of the better ones.
Yeah, the other thing I love about it is like to different extents, but both of its current Floodborn targets are playable.
Aren't bad.
Yeah.
People like to hate on the 3-cost cat, but I don't think 3-cost cat is like all that bad.
No, I feel like it got a little bit outpaced towards the end of the meta, honestly. I feel like it put a lot more work in earlier on. But yeah, it's playable, and it's definitely playable with this thing existing now. And the vanilla that we saw before is perfectly well statted as well. So
yeah.
Insane art.
I think some of the best art in the set.
Yeah. It's just great to see a real like shift away from the original character, but still so recognizable. You know, it's really good. And the other thing I noticed as well, it's almost like a Pokemon evolution of the vanilla we saw. You know, like
yeah.
You know, it's still that sort of idea that he's being formed out of the tree that he sits in. You know. The fact that you can shift it, immediately banish something the same turn, and not worry about the crackback due to evasive is pretty solid. Not worried about most of the crackback. This is really good.
So right now, there's no evasive card that can challenge this thing and banish it in one go, except for Simba. Sorry, there's one card. There's the Steel Simba that gets
Challenger and evasive, is it? Yeah. So he's the only thing that can kill it, and that doesn't see play. I don't think. Yeah. I still, like, as good as this is, I don't think people suddenly go and get their returned kings out of the closet.
I think it's also like 7 ink as well. So
this is great. What a card! I think this is really good. I was very excited. I was eating breakfast when I saw this, and I put my knife and fork down. It was that good.
Yeah.
All right. Next up.
Nothing to hide, right? The Sapphire action card, inkable 1 cost. Each opponent reveals their hand, draw a card. I think this is pretty good.
So I have this has been, I think, for me personally, the most what's the word when you get like real two sides, like really divisive, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not the word I'm thinking of, but it'll do. That I genuinely think this is the most divisive card I've seen revealed for set 2, because I've either seen people say, "Oh yeah, it's pretty good," or everyone's been like, "This is absolute trash," and I've genuinely not seen anything between. And I think it's whether or not people value seeing your opponent's hand or not, and it seems to be quite a clear-cut line as to whether people do or not.
Which is pretty surprising for me, and maybe it's just because of the deck that I mainly ran through the first chapter, which was Amber Steel, and that relied, like, the way you play that deck, at least the version that I was playing, changed depending on what matchup you were in, as do a lot of decks.
Yeah, well, it was a classic mid-range deck, right? It's exactly what a mid-rangey deck wants to do. It can either aggro if it needs to, or it can shift to be more of a control-y build, right?
And like my games were won or lost in Ruby Amethyst games, whether or not they had like a certain number of cards in hand that I got to wheel away. Yeah. And like, granted, I know none of those colors are Sapphire, but to prove a point, like sometimes it's very important to know what's in your opponent's hand, and whether it's worth getting rid of or whether you can kind of leave it be. You know, I don't know. I think it's pretty valuable. I saw some people compare it to Improvise and say like, oh, everybody's calling this card busted, but nobody, you know, said anything when Improvise got revealed.
Like something gets +1 strength, draw a card.
Yeah. It's the 1 cost plus 1 strength.
Not even
and
comparable.
I'm like, no, like that's my thought. It's like, this is so much more impactful in regards to like I don't know, the information you get to play throughout the rest of the game. I think this is so much better than improvise.
Yeah.
I think both Develop the Brain and Nothing to Hide can see play. Like, I don't think
that's I think is a better comparison. Yeah, is Develop Your Brain. I just want to point a couple of things out in the chat before we move on. First 20 says card is bulk in my opinion. There you go. See, you're into it or you're not. Unless we get a card that values playing cheap actions. Yeah, Sapphire isn't the color that cares about actions, really. I think that's Emerald, if anything. Maybe there's a build with both. I don't know. And then somebody says, what property is this from? It's from Beauty and the Beast, but it's a deep cut, and it looks very different to. This is like if actions had a Born. This would be a Dreamborn action.
Yeah, I love the deep cut for this card.
There's a moment in Beauty and the Beast where Gaston goes to Belle's house to propose, and Belle looks through a little looker that Maurice has built to see who's there, and Gaston comes and does that. Like that face of Gaston is from the movie, but it doesn't look like the rest of it. This is obviously happening in the Illuminary or something. It's like Gataxian Probe. I don't think it is like Gataxian Probe. I've seen this reference made a lot today. Gataxian Probe is a Magic card, Magic the Gathering card, and the wording on it is quite similar. It basically says, look at target player's hands, draw a card. So basically the wording is the same. The reason it's different, though, and the reason why it's probably not as good as... So Gataxian Probe is banned in most formats. I think it's playable in Commander, and that's about it. The reason it's banned is because first of all, there is instant speed interaction in Magic. So it's very useful to know your opponent's hand, to know whether they can stop what you're about to do. And it has a thing called Phyrexian mana, so it can either be paid with 1 mana, 1 island, I think it is, 1 blue mana, or 2 life. So you can play it for free.
Yeah.
And you can play it like before anything else has happened. Before you've even inked your first card, you can sing this for free. I'm trying to sort of find the comparison for non-Magic players. But it's so the comparison is there because it's, look at your opponent's hands, draw and replace itself. But it's not as strong as Gataxian Probe for those 2 reasons. So I don't like to make comparisons to other card games. I think it's important that we let this one live in its own, its own space and stand on its own feet.
Agree.
But when people make comparisons, I think you kind of have to sort of hash them out. I think this is good. I will pay 1 ink to make my deck a 56 card deck and look at my opponent's hand. I value that as a player. And other people don't, and that's cool. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
All right.
I can't remember who read that one out.
I did. I'll take the next one, though, and you can take the next 2, because I don't have the last 2 ready.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so next is a Sapphire Inkable 5 cost, Cruella de Vil, Perfectly Wretched. She has 4 strength, 3 willpower, and 2 lore. She's a Floodborn villain. Shift 3, so a discount of 2, with an ability that says whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character gets -2 this turn. I don't think it's a good card.
No, I was loving it. I was really loving it until her ability, and I was like, oh, that's never mind.
Yeah,
it had me whenever this character quests. It had me right up until, and then that last line was, it's combat trick.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
But I don't know. So shift 3. That other Cruella in the car, what was she? She's in Sapphire as well, right?
She's a 2 cost. 2. So you can shift this on 3.
Yeah.
Which, like, I've seen people say, oh, I can do that, and then I can sing. But there's Aurora that you can also do that with that I think I'd rather play over Cruella.
Yeah,
and Cogsworth.
Aurora giving ward and Cogsworth giving resist 1 is both better than this, I think.
Yeah.
But she's an uncommon, right? Like, I think we got to remember that set 1, all of the Floodborns were rare and higher, right? I think, and it was only the secret. There's only the super rares that sort of really see play. So they can't all be bangers.
Does this make it in a Floodborne Matters deck though? Like even if you're like, hey, I just need Floodborne characters to play.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Mostly because it's a 5-drop in Sapphire. Because like you say, that's a already tough slot to compete in, right? Like you say, Aurora and Cogsworth both get played over this. At the moment, my five-ended Emerald Sapphire build runs the Aurora, and then it runs the 5-drop Maleficent.
Oh yeah,
It's just a vanilla.
Another good card.
It's fine. It's it's a solid vanilla, but like she's getting pulled straight out of there for Cogsworth. Like because it also runs. I also run the Jasmine, the small Jasmine, but I don't run the Floodborne Jasmine. Weirdly, I run the small Jasmine again just because it's a decent statted. But I think that Jasmine and that Maleficent both come out for the Cogsworth package. Even though I don't think the small Cogsworth is very good, I just think the big one is so good that you want to hit the Floodborne target. So yeah, I don't think this sees it. Would I play Donald, the Ward one? I guess.
Ward.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Ward Donald.
Yeah, it's a shame. The art's incredible.
Yes,
I think she's great. I love the fact that. Like I could see this actually being could we see an enchanted uncommon? I don't know. I could see
probably not an enchanted uncommon, but I could see a good Cruella de Vil enchanted card.
Yeah, I could see it coming, and I also love the fact that in all of them, she's not wearing Dalmatian. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really nice thing. Because she's the bad guy, but. It's 2023. Let's not. Let's not remind people what she wanted to do.
I like the flavor on this card too. I just think it's fun.
It's great. It's beautiful. It's a really nice looking card. It's just not. Quite good enough, unfortunately. All right, we have 2 more to look at. Then these dropped. About an hour before we started tonight? Maybe a little longer.
Yeah,
not long.
It was soon.
And they're both in steel, and they were put on they were made by a Twitter post. 2-costed inkable 3/2 for 1 lore. Jafar Royal Vizier, Storyborn Villain Sorcerer, common, with art by Rob De Silva, and the ability I don't trust him, sire. During your turn, this character gains evasive. Yeah, I mean it's haven't we seen this exact card in a couple of colors now with this kind of stat line? I feel nothing particularly to write home about. I think what makes this interesting is that we have a Floodborne target for it. But do we a 3/2 that gains evasive in steel? Is that good? I think what's the Simba, the steel Simba that lets you loot, lets you draw and discard? Is he a 2-cost?
Oh no, he's a 1-cost.
Oh, is he? I was going to say maybe this replaces that. But yeah, Pongo's getting
Pongo's fucked. I'm so sad for Pongo. After all these cards, I'm just like, Pongo never sees play again, apparently.
Yeah. What? I know what this replaces. This replaces Eric in steel, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because he's a 2-costed challenger.
Yeah.
1/3
challenger.
Yeah, you play this instead of Eric if you're playing Eric. And Eric doesn't see that much play, really, I don't think.
Not really. But when I did play him, it was mainly like to combat Simba, because you can challenge Simba and still live. But even then, it was very situational. I could see him being slotted out for something else.
Yeah, and maybe this, because you've got Hook on the 1-drop that also gets rid of Simba as well, right? So the fact that this is evasive, it answers other answers, takes out Pascal no problem. It's okay. I think this is good. And then the last one we got today was the Floodborne that shifts onto this. A 4-costed inkable 3/4 for 1 lore in steel. Jafar Dreadnought, Floodborne Villain Sorcerer. We shift 2, so a 2-cost reduction. Uncommon by, I can't read the name. I recognize Rob De Silva's.
Kem Kendall.
Thank you, Kem Kendall. Because I've got it small on my screen. Now, where were we? During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may draw a card. I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, I can't tell if this is good or not.
Okay.
Because I don't know how powerful the challenge and banish reward stuff is. Like this definitely gets slotted into that steel ruby, I challenge and benefit
Yeah,
deck.
I think it goes into that, and I think it goes into the steel emerald one as well, that cares about stuff getting hit with
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
new
yeah.
beast.
Yeah, like Espeon says, steel already has a whole new world, so it's kind of like
It does, but I still don't really rave about a whole new world. Honestly, like it's really good, but it can often what's the best way of wording this? I don't think, and maybe I'm just not playing very good players, but I've never had a whole new world played against me and not at worst thought, oh, okay, And a lot of times I'm like, yeah, great, let me get them cards. Like the fact that it's everybody, like more often than not, like I don't think you see that much value out of it unless you really manage to craft it so that they're getting rid of 7 and you're getting rid of 1. But it just even then, okay, I got these 7 that were quite nice, but at the moment there's not that much hand management. So other than like the couple of develop your brains or Ursula's cauldrons or whatever, for the most part, you're both getting rid of a random selection of cards and gaining a random selection of cards, unless you played it early enough that they mulligan really well and you're getting rid of that. I don't know. I'm happy that Steel's getting other card draw. I don't think the fact that Whole New World exists means that we don't play card draw in Steel because of it, honestly. I feel like you disagree.
I wouldn't say I disagree. I think Whole New World overall is a good card. I used to not think that until I started playing the card the way that it's supposed to be played and like played well, because I often found myself in a situation where like a Whole New World is horrible if you have to pay for it. Like you feel really bad because rarely do you also have enough ink to do anything.
Yeah, you need to be able
afterwards.
to put stuff down afterwards. Yeah.
And if you're playing against somebody who kind of knows what they're doing, they're probably playing around it, which means like they had a pretty empty hand anyway. So like they're, like you just said, they're fine with ditching 3 cards and drawing 7. But when you know how to play the card, and maybe it's just a matchup thing, maybe it was that Ruby Amethyst was like really good, and a Whole New World happened to be pretty good into Ruby Amethyst when you could hit it early. But when you can hit people early, or when you can hit especially control decks who keep cards in their hand and don't play around it, I think it's a very good card. But I will say most of a Whole New World's value comes from getting sung. When you can't sing a Whole New World, it gets substantially worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, much the same way as like Be Prepared gets a lot better if you can sing it, because then you can start filling the board back up again before it goes over to them, So that makes total sense. People like First 20. I think New World should be the first banned card. I just don't.
I don't see it.
I think like wheels are often banned in card games. Like everyone discard and draw back up are very often banned, but it's usually because something that's been made later breaks them.
Yeah, that's
as
what
it stands
hear.
on their own. I just don't know. It's again maybe it is. Maybe, like I haven't really played that competitively. I don't play online. I don't play Pixelborn or whatever. So I'm limited. My play is limited to the 30 or 40 people that show up at my league. So yeah, maybe they're just not playing it right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna act like I'm the greatest competitive player, because I'm not. But having tried to play competitively, I can say that like a Whole New World is good.
Yeah.
It's not so good that it's like
that's where I sit on
over.
it. It is good. It is good, but you've got to know when to play it right. And I don't see it's broken. But the main reason we talk about it is that I don't think it's an argument for like I can't remember who it was in the chat was like, oh, you don't need to play this. Steel's got a whole new world. Like that's not an acceptable answer for why you wouldn't want to see more card draw in Steel at all. I think this is all right. I honestly do, actually. Forecasted 3-4 for 1. It's not great stats, but you get this out early, turn 3, I guess, because you're shifting onto a 2 cost. So turn 3 can kill something. Turn 3, this gets shifted out. It most likely can kill anything on their board.
Yeah.
I can't think of it.
And then you draw a card.
And then you draw.
And then it dies the next turn.
Yeah, I guess it is during your turn. It'd be not because it'd be not. Yeah, if it didn't say during your turn and it just got the second hit off being finished off. Maybe.
That's my thing. It's like, is it worth doing all of this to draw a card?
To get a card, yeah, maybe it isn't.
Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't seem that great to me.
Yeah.
Or well, not so much. It isn't great. I think there's better cards in the 3 to 5 cost range that you would rather run or combo than this card.
In Steel?
Yeah.
Turn. Yeah, it kind of sits around the big tink area, doesn't it? I guess. Yeah.
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 And maybe that's not as good with Resist, and like with Resist, maybe we start playing this instead of Big Tink. But I don't know. I personally think Big Tink and Swords are still going to see plenty of play.
My streaming thing just crashed.
Oh no.
Yeah, an error occurred, just caused Streamlabs desktop to close. Don't worry, if you were streaming or recording, this is still happening in the background. Hello, everyone.
All right.
Whenever you're ready, we can relaunch the application. However, this will end your stream/recording session. What? So we're still streaming until I click fix this and then we're not streaming anymore? I want to go to YouTube and see what's happening before I click yes.
Yeah. I need chat to tell me what's happening.
The New York Times,
I guess I have the stream pulled up.
Are all talking about the holdovers. 4 stars. So it's raucously funny and irresistibly entertaining. The holdovers.
How weird is this? It says
there's nothing more powerful.
God, we're still live. Adverts as well. You're still live. How weird. You're still live, but I can't. We're still live, but I can't change this screen because the thing is closed.
Yeah.
Might not be recording. We don't record it.
So now what?
Okay, so everyone sit tight.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. The holdovers is 4 stars. Yeah, ad same place. Sorry, I had to watch. I never skip my own ads. It's like that's 0.001 cent.
Yeah.
All right, let's press. Okay, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We hope. Your stream recording session is still running in the background. When you're ready, click